Hi, and a warm welcome to the Releasing the Real You show. Now, this episode I wanted to do in January, but lots of things have happened, unfortunately, over the last 2 months. But thankfully, things are better now. My dad was quite ill. And so this episode hasn't happened between January and February. So we're March now. And last year, I recorded the January episode as my story and my why. Lots has happened since then. The last year, I was feeling quite bloated. I was feeling very tired, and it got worse and worse as the months went on, up until the point where in July, August, I started to feel really, really unwell. And started feeling really unwell. And I had lots of symptoms that were quite worrying, I have to say. And so when I came back from holidays early September, I went to the doctors and I saw a GP I had never seen before, who was very thorough. And we did a blood test, we did a poo test. And to be honest, I've never seen blood tests so bad coming back. We did a full blood test because I hadn't had any done for 2 years, which is what I normally do. Every couple of years, I do a full checkup. And compared to 2 years ago and compared to the ones now, it was quite shocking. It was quite shocking. And I have to say, I was quite worried as well. Now, I was worried before because I'm going to say it might not be the nice thing to say, but I think I'm going to be very open about what happened to me. So, as I said, I was bloated and tired, very tired. I felt tummy ache. I felt dizzy. I felt especially dizzy when I walked or I did some movement or exercise. I sometimes felt nauseous, and I was pooing blood as well. So all that together, I was quite worried. And my first thought was, well, maybe I have bowel cancer. That's kind of one of the things that went through my mind. But thankfully, the blood test and the poo test showed that it was most probably not cancer. But there was definitely a hell of a lot of inflammation. Celiac test came back positive. And as I said, my iron levels were low, my very low, my folate levels were very low, borderline pre-diabetic. My thyroid was borderline or as well. And a few other bits and pieces that were really, really came back in red, really. And so thankfully, I have private health insurance. And so I went to see a specialist gastroenterologist straight away, who saw the blood test and said, look, everything is there, so I don't need to do any other blood tests, which, kudos to my GP. So we're going to do a gastroscopy, so putting a camera through your throat and do a biopsy when it comes to celiac disease, and then a camera through the bottom, colonoscopy, to check out for other things as well. I had that done 2 weeks later, and turns out, thankfully, there's nothing else except for being celiac. Now, for those that don't know, celiac disease is an autoimmune disease where your body attacks itself when you ingest gluten. Growing up in Belgium, I grew up, my usual breakfast was bread and cheese. Often in the evening might have been bread and cheese as well, or bread and meat. And I had my main meal was at lunchtime with meat and veg, and meat and 2 veg, which is how I grew up. And I thought I was eating quite a healthy diet, but obviously it wasn't a diet that was healthy to me. What causes an autoimmune disease to kick in? No one really knows. You generally are predisposed to it. But my parents both have had the blood test and both have tested negative for celiac disease. So we don't know how it happened in my family, or at least for me. And it did mean that from October onwards, I had to go on a very strict gluten-free diet. So when I talk to my clients about making changes, I suddenly had to make drastic changes as well, not just at home, but also out. And it's one of those things where my specialist said to me, if you do not follow a strict gluten-free diet, you will end up with stomach cancer. Now, to me, that's a good enough reason to just go and make the changes that I needed to make. Thankfully, I am a good baker. I've been baking since lockdown, some sourdoughs, loads of other things. And so I looked into how to bake good quality gluten-free stuff. Because one of the things that I see happen very often is someone who suddenly been told to go gluten-free, goes to the supermarket, goes to the free from aisle, and see all the products that are out there that are, one, double the price as the regular stuff, but also if we talk about processed food and ultra-processed food, I would say that the gluten-free options out there are ultra processed. Now, when you think about it, meat, veg, dairy, regular dairy, are all naturally gluten-free. Pulses are naturally gluten-free. Rice is naturally gluten-free. So already there are a lot of options of eating a healthy diet as such. Eggs are naturally dairy-free, gluten-free. So there's a lot of options that you can have straight away out of the box, or not out of the box because it doesn't come in a box, where you can have a healthy gluten-free diet. Now, obviously, when it comes to convenient food and grabbing things, that's where things become much more tricky. So obviously a sandwich is something that you need to start thinking about. So there's a lot of things that I had to start thinking about is how do I adapt my eating habits? What do I do? At home, I'm going to be totally honest, it hasn't been such a massive change. It has been, yes, obviously, as I said, instead of baking some gluten regular bread, I had to start looking at gluten-free flours, and not just the Dove's Farm that you have here in the UK in the supermarket. But to make good bread, you need all kinds of different starches, different flours, and so some psyllium husk, lots of different things that you don't need when it comes to regular bread. When it comes to biscuits, you need a few other things as well. When it comes to cakes as well. So there's a lot of things that I had to think about, but it wasn't as complicated as I thought it would be, at least at home. The complicated bit is going out, be it going out for dinner or in a restaurant, or lunch in a restaurant, or brunch in a restaurant, or going to friends. And that's where actually I have to say I can easily identify with my clients in the sense that it makes you much more self-conscious when it comes to having to make choices, having to not be able to go with your gut, not with your gut, but with your first choice or what you really fancy having, or having to ask questions and feeling the awkward out. Now, it made me realize, obviously, I am doing it for health reasons, and I am doing it because I want to make sure that I do everything I can to prevent having cancer. But obviously, when it comes to my clients who are more conscious about weight loss, etc., they do it for themselves as well. So the reason why we do it might be a little bit different, but the way of doing it is exactly the same. So when I go to a restaurant now, I generally call the restaurant first, asking if they can accommodate a celiac person, because a celiac person compared to a gluten intolerant person is not exactly the same. There are much more restrictions, especially when it comes to cross-contamination. And when I say cross-contamination, it means that things have to be prepared in a separate area or a cleaned area in the kitchen, using clean chopping boards, clean knives, clean utensils, clean everything. Cross-contamination means that things can't be fried, for instance, in the same oil. So my chips can't be fried in the same oil where onion rings, for instance, have been fried, or fish has been fried, or something else. So there are a lot more restrictions when it comes to someone who's gluten-free and tries to avoid gluten, as opposed to someone who's celiac. There's much more stricter rules when it comes to that. And there's also a lot of food items that a celiac person shouldn't be eating. And those are all the stuff that might be gluten-free by default, but are packed or produced in a factory that is also dealing with gluten-containing products or cereals, etc. So the allergens on the packaging needs to be checked as well. I was quite surprised as, first of all, how many things do include gluten that you wonder why. Okay, so soy sauce has gluten in it. There is gluten-free soy sauce. There is gluten-free tamari, which is similar to soy sauce, but is naturally gluten-free. There is soy sauce in, there is gluten in Worcester sauce, brown sauce. There is gluten in Smarties. There's wheat in Smarties. Why? Who knows? But there is also a lot of stuff that you would think is gluten-free by default, but there are lots of pulses that are supermarket pulses or even Indian pulses that are packaged in a factory that also handles gluten. So all these things need to be checked before I can have something to eat. And I have to check it in a restaurant. I have to check it when I go to friends. So I have to call up a friend who nicely invited me for dinner, and say, I'm more than happy to bring my own food if you don't want to go through the hassle of checking all your ingredients. Does it make me self-conscious? Yes. Have any of my friends so far said that they won't accommodate me? No. So it's really something that made me think of, well, actually, I am now acting in the same way that I encourage my clients to act, as, you know, stand for what your needs are. And that's something that I realized actually my friends, the ones that do care, really don't mind doing it. So you might feel awkward doing it, and it does feel awkward. I totally agree, it does feel awkward. But it's for my own good. And the same I'm telling to my clients, it's for your own good. It feels awkward, but the more you do it, the more it becomes second nature, the more it becomes okay to do. And you know what? If your friend doesn't want to accommodate you, bring your own food. Not a big deal. Will you feel left out? Will you feel like the awkward out when you're having your own meal? Yeah, probably. But it's a reflection on your friend and not a reflection on you. That's kind of my thinking, and that's why I encourage all my clients to do as well. And I have encouraged my client to look at it in that way for many, many years. And it's quite interesting because suddenly I'll have to implement my own teaching in a much bigger way than I have done so far. So if you are at the start of your gluten-free journey, I can help you. If you have been told that you need to cut things out, I can help you because, again, I have done it myself in the same way that I have changed my eating habits from very, very unhealthy ones in the past. And that's how I used to help my clients with. I can now help clients very, very specifically who need to go gluten-free, and by the way, it can be very, very daunting to start with. And I understand much more now when it comes to being very restrictive with what you can and what you can't have. There's just a lot of things involved when it comes to food shopping, when it comes to going out, when it comes to socializing, when it comes to traveling. And there's lots of things that you can do when it comes to traveling as well. So this year I made it my mission to not just help my clients when it comes to weight loss, but to also help clients who need to go gluten-free for very specific health reasons, be it through intolerances or be it through being celiac. And it's kind of an extra extra bit that I can help with, and I'd be more than happy to help you with it as well. As a result, I am also looking at adding some gluten-free baking Zoom classes, because I think that's one of the things that is missing if you want to make stuff at home so that it's not ultra processed for what you find in the shops. And over time, I will come up with some dates and some times where over Zoom, I will make biscuits, cakes, bread, and help you with those as well. I have set up a Facebook group with a friend of mine called Bake Without Borders. Is it Bake Without? Let me just double check to Bake or Baking Without Borders. It is called Bake Without Borders Facebook group, where we help people to get into gluten-free baking, from sourdough, from regular yeasted breads, and also from biscuits and cakes. We talk about everything what is needed. We talk about cross-contamination as well. At home as well, when it comes to cooking, I live on my own, so it's quite easy. But if you are cooking for a family and you're the only one that is gluten-free, or your child is gluten-free and the rest of the family isn't, there's lots of things to take into consideration. And I will be guiding you, helping you to do it in a safe way. As I said, being celiac is the extreme of going gluten-free because of the cross-contamination, because of the may contain allergen warnings, which other people might not look into too much, because if lentils are gluten-free, lentils are gluten-free. For me, gluten-free lentils is not enough. It also needs to be not cross-contaminated. So definitely something to that I want to add this year, that I want to work with more. But all I would say is the changes that I've been encouraging and the habits that I've been encouraging my clients to implement within their lives, I had to implement into mine again, fully, even more consciously over the past few months. And I will have to continue and do it for the rest of my life. It's a lifestyle change. It's not a one-off. So it's something that I will continue and do for the rest of my life. Being a autoimmune disease, I just have no choice. Now, the results that I got were quite amazing. And my specialist had said to me that it is it will be very quickly, you're going to feel the results and you're going to feel the benefits of it. I am not tired anymore. My skin, my complexion is totally different. My bloatedness is gone. When I do eat out, interestingly enough, I feel a little bit more bloated than when I eat at home. And it's quite interesting because it makes you wonder what's going on there. Even though I'm very careful and I ask the right questions when I'm out, I still feel a little bit more bloated, maybe because it's heavier meals than I don't eat at home. I don't know. I am awaiting a few more months before I have my next blood tests to see how things have improved. One of the things that happens when you are celiac is that you don't absorb any nutrients, which is why all my blood tests were so bad. So I can't wait to get my next blood test back. My goal is for around this time next year to be able to donate blood again. And that's kind of my goal when it comes to my iron levels, which means that, you know, my body starts absorbing things again and rebuilding what it hasn't done for probably 2 years. Because as I said, the blood test from 2 years ago compared to the blood test from September time, it was quite shocking, the difference. So there's lots of things that happen. I don't feel dizzy anymore. I have much more energy. I feel lighter. Have I lost a lot of weight? I don't know. I don't weigh myself very regularly. But I can see my clothes, they just fit better. They don't pull anymore, especially around my tummy. But all around here, there's a massive difference. My hands, my arms, my feet, everything just doesn't feel bloated anymore. I didn't do it for weight loss as such. I did it because I had to do it. So I don't care, and I don't know about weight loss as such. I definitely must have lost some weight because obviously the bloatedness comes from somewhere. So yes, lots of benefits from making that change, and a change that, you know, knowing now how unwell I was, there is no way I want to go back to it. And that's what people who lose weight need to think about as well, is to anchor that feeling of feeling awful, feeling heavy, feeling drained, feeling a lack of energy, feeling unwell, feeling unhappy within yourself. Anchor that thought, because that is what is going to help us all to keep going for the long term. So if you have been told, or you want to have a chat about how I can help you, been told that you need to make changes for whatever reason, be it for health reason, be it for allergy reasons, before you want to lose weight, get in touch, because I now went through whatever you are going to go through, even more than I did before. So watch the episodes from last year, watch the episode today, and let me help you make it happen for you once and for all. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you got something out of it. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll be happy to answer them and hop on a call, have a chat, see how I can help you, and see how I can make things change for you along the way as well. Have a great month, and I'll see you all very soon.